Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about United States of America's withdrawal from Afghanistan. The government of Afghanistan is currently become weak. It is not able to control the expansionist policy of Taliban. There has been continuing violence in Afghanistan, and with the United States of America withdrawing from Afghanistan, the article is saying that there will be more violence in the near future as it gives rise to the expansionist policy of Taliban. So the article here primarily discusses what are the various issues with the United States of America's withdrawal and the expansionist policy of Taliban, and gives us enough statistics and data how it could affect Afghanistan, how it could have an impact on India, and what is the role played by Pakistan. First up, let's look at some of the statistics as given under this article. According to the article, it goes on to say Taliban had controlled 73 of Afghanistan 407 districts before May 1st. The number of districts went up to 168 in 2 months. The statistics clearly reveal this is expanding the footprint of Taliban when it comes to Afghanistan. So the article goes on to say that because of this expansionist policy, there could be repercussions in Afghanistan. The article initially starts off with discussing one of the air bases. United States of America had control in one of the air bases called as the Bagram Air Base. This Bagram Air Base happens to be one of the important regions in that particular area. With control over this Bagram Air Base, United States of America was able to control regions in and around it and prevented any type of violence from emanating from this particular region. And now United States of America has departed from this airbase, and unfortunately it means that this may give rise to violence in this particular region. If we have to remember the Bagram Air Base, it is very important from the preliminary examination point of view. Why? Because initially when United States of America stepped into this particular region, it made sure that it entered this Bagram Air Base in the year 2001, completely took control of this particular region, developed this region into a huge base where it had the capacity to house as many as 10,000 troops in this particular region. It also had a blast wall as well. It also had an hospital as well. It had a trauma bay as well. It had theaters and modern dental clinic as well. Such was the importance of this Bagram Air Base. And now, since the United States of America's troops are withdrawing from this air base, the regions around it could also face a lot of volatility. Why? Because this particular Bagram Air Base is about 40 kilometer from Kabul, which happens to be the capital of the Afghanistan. And now with the withdrawal, there will be perpetuation of violence in this region. Now the question is, why did United States of America invade Afghanistan? We have to go back to the year 2001 on September 11, where there was a terrorist attack that was inflicted on the World Trade Center. Since the World Trade Center was destroyed, this was a terror attack on the sovereignty of United States of America. Back then, the president of United States of America, Bush, immediately says that this will be a war on terror, and that is when United States of America enters into the longest fought war with the Al Qaeda leaders. Initially, you had the Taliban. The Taliban was requested to surrender or hand over all these Al Qaeda leaders to United States of America, but they were reluctant to hand over these leaders to United States of America, which is when Taliban housed all these leaders, and that is when all the coalition forces of United States of America, that is the NATO forces, come up to this particular region and they raise what is called as the war on terror. Because the Taliban did not stop these leaders, because the Taliban did not hand over these leaders to United States of America, America steps into Afghanistan and fights a longest war in the history of United States of America. Now is the question. The question is, has United States of America become successful in this war? No. Why? Because Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of the empires. Great powers in the past have stepped into this particular region and have even withdrawn incomplete in this particular region. Similarly, even in the present situation, United States of America, though it has killed Osama bin Laden, to an extent it was able to control the violence in this particular region, is withdrawing in Afghanistan in the midway in this particular region. And this has also been supported by the previous presidents like Barack Obama, and it was supported by Donald Trump as well, where he in fact appointed one of the special envoy for Afghanistan called as Salme Khalilzadeh. It was he who spoke to Afghanistan government. It was he who bridged the differences between the Afghan government and the Taliban, and ultimately the proposal given by Trump was also accepted by the current president Joe Biden. So Joe Biden has endorsed the Taliban deal and has pushed for the deadline and is ultimately withdrawing the troops of United States of America. Apart from this, United States of America also feels that they are spending a huge amount of money in Afghanistan. It is not deriving any results for them, and ultimately they are also losing their soldiers because of this longest war that they have been fighting in Afghanistan. So giving importance to the money and also to the lives as well, they decide that they have to withdraw from Afghanistan. Well, they plan to withdraw from Afghanistan. They also have to give consideration to the people as well as the government of the day in that particular region. So what they require is some of the establishments, what they require is the protocol, what they require is a deal. So what do they come? They come up with a deal called as the USA Taliban deal. So this particular deal is what establishes credibility of United States of America with Taliban and with the Afghan government, so that there is peace that is established in the Afghan soil. So what are the important criteria that have been set up under this particular deal? The first is in reference to violence. What is happening here? We know for the fact that the minute Taliban takes over this particular area, what it will also ensure is it might kill people who are opposing its viewpoints. We are already seeing that happen. We have been seeing where Taliban is killing the journalists. We are seeing where women are not let to educate themselves. We are seeing where children are radicalizing themselves, and all the media which is going against the Taliban forces are killed and lynched by the Taliban. So the first point that this particular Taliban deal came up was to reduce the violence of the Taliban in the Afghan soil. The second is about the foreign troops. The United States of America will immediately ensure that all the troops that are currently in Afghanistan will be immediately deported from Afghanistan. The third is about intra-Afghan peace talks, where you would have the government on one side, you would also have the Taliban on the other side. Both these parties come together, they discuss what will be the political future of Afghanistan, who will have which portfolio, how much of power would be given to Taliban, how much of power would be withdrawn from the Afghan government. This is what the talks is all about. So the intra-Afghan peace talks is about the government coming together, the Taliban coming together, they negotiate amongst each other what will be the future of Afghanistan. And finally, United States of America also said that the Afghan soil should not be used by any other terrorist organization to perpetuate violence in this particular region. So which are the other terrorist organizations? It can be Al Qaeda or it can be ISIS, who have radical ideologies. So they have entered into a treaty with this particular Taliban to ensure that other terrorist organizations do not operate in the Afghanistan soil. Now the most important factor is we have to understand what would be the role of Pakistan when United States of America withdraws from Afghanistan. When you look into Pakistan, they have three agendas when it comes to Afghanistan. What is it? One, they have the border skirmishes. Second, they want to control large swathes of land when it comes to Pakistan and Afghanistan. And third, India, because they have a simple policy of making India bleed through thousand cuts. Though they have not been successful, we will hit them very hard whenever it is required. But Pakistan has the simple policy of making India bleed through thousand cuts. That is why it supports Taliban when it comes to Afghanistan. First, let us discuss about the border issue. We have one of the lines called as the Durand Line. This happens to be the western border of Pakistan, the eastern border of Afghanistan. But Afghanistan is not recognizing the Durand Line, which is why Pakistan does not like, which is why Pakistan is making sure if Taliban is allowed to grow in Afghanistan, the government and the Taliban will keep fighting so that Pakistan would be able to take this particular area. If Afghanistan is peaceful, they would be able to speak to Pakistan and ultimately they have to resolve all the issues. But if Afghanistan has a kind of a civil war within Afghanistan, then Pakistan need not have to focus on the Durand line, which is one of the objective of Pakistan. So the major issue being the border area, which is why they always support the Taliban, so that the government is occupied with Taliban does not enter into the talks with Pakistan. That's the first thing. Second thing is about control. Whenever you have Taliban in that particular region, they have huge control over that particular region, which is why they do not want the Afghan government, which is why they also promote Taliban as well. And finally, because there are some terrorist organizations supported by Pakistan who have friendly ties with Taliban, that is why they support Taliban in that particular region. Why? Because if they control Taliban, Taliban could ask all these other terrorist organizations to work against India. So indirectly what Pakistan is doing, it may say that we do not have any touch with any of these terrorist organizations, but indirectly Taliban is controlling those forces. So the idea being that Pakistan is acting neutral, but indirectly it is supporting Taliban, where Taliban is supporting those terrorist organizations. This is the agenda of Pakistan, but it's not going to be that easy. Why? That is because if Taliban takes the power in Afghanistan by inflicting a lot of violence, this will lose international credibility. So countries may not be able to accept it. And at the same time, if they take power not by consensus or by peaceful manner, if it is by violence, what could happen? There might be refugee crisis that will be unfolding across the western borders of Pakistan. And if money supply is not given to Taliban on a periodic basis, in fact, Taliban may also hit the Pakistan as well. So these are the major limitations when it comes to Pakistan's role with respect to Taliban. Apart from this, we have to focus on how it could be a problem to India. As of now, when you look into India and Taliban's relationship, previously we have not recognized, we have not accepted Taliban's rule. In fact, India has only said that we will support the Afghan-led, Afghan-owned government. In the past, we have not accepted the rule of Taliban. But now, India is planning to approach Taliban. Why? Because India senses the future with Afghanistan is all about Afghan-led, but this will also have power sharing with Taliban. So India is planning to speak up to Taliban, because if it does not speak with Taliban, we will have issues when it comes to investments made by India. India has already invested huge amount of money when it comes to Afghanistan. We have also developed Halma Dam. It can be the Parliament House. It can be number of infrastructural projects. In fact, we've also been constructing roads as well in Afghanistan so that we could connect to Central Asia. If Taliban is not interacted with, if we do not take Taliban into consensus in Afghanistan, they may stop all these investment plans and they may disturb these investments, and ultimately India is bound to suffer, which is why India is getting ready to talk with Taliban. The second is that if Taliban is not kept a check, they'll become the pawns of the Pakistan, and that is when whatever Pakistan says, they may listen to it, but only when we have the stakeholder approach where we speak to Taliban, we would also be able to voice our concerns and issues to Taliban, whether they will listen or not to the second issue. But if we do not speak to them, it will be completely radicalized, may become the pawn of Pakistan. And finally, if India does not speak to Taliban, all the anti-India terrorist groups may get against India, and this can become a security challenge to India. So in order to overcome all these issues, what we have is the only suitability of power sharing and what would happen to the Afghanistan government in the near future. One, there could be a political settlement between Afghanistan government as well as Taliban, so they would amicably and peacefully settle this particular issue. Or if they do not settle to this political settlement, this can result in civil war where one party will fight another and the winner will take over the power. Or it might be complete dominance of Taliban, and ultimately Taliban would start ruling large swathes of this particular region. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about EU's green passport. What is this green passport? What are the advantages of it? What are the various concerns voiced by India as well as other developing countries? And what is the way forward is what is this article all about. Recently, we have the European Union, which has issued what is called as EU Digital COVID Certificate. It is also popularly called as the Green Passport. What is this COVID certificate? If there are people within the European Union countries, if they are vaccinated, and these vaccinated people as of now had restrictions, they could not travel from one country to another. But when this digital certificate is issued by the European Union, which is called as the digital COVID certificate or the green passport, they would have the freedom to travel from one country to another without any restrictions. Earlier, because of the COVID restrictions, they were not able to move freely. But when this digital certificate is issued by the authority, it means that particular person is vaccinated, and this vaccinated person would be able to move freely amongst all the European Union countries in Europe. So the digital certification is nothing but a permission given by European Union where that particular person seems to be vaccinated. That apart, if that particular person has also gone through an RT-PCR test and if it seems to be negative, even that is part of this digital certification. Added to this, if that particular person has recently suffered from COVID-19, has recovered from it, has the natural immunity, that could also be part of this e-digital COVID certificate. So this digital certificate would be updated in one of the applications, or it can also be a physical paper copy which can be shown to authorities of other countries for the free travel in other countries. So primarily this EU DCC is nothing but the green passport where a particular person would be able to travel in countries associated with European Union. So the certificate basically would have the date of this particular vaccination. It will have the name of that particular person, date of issuance of that particular certificate, the vaccine that is administered to that particular person. So it will have all these details that are embedded in this certificate. So basically we have the European Medicines Agency, which as of now has given permission to about 4 vaccines. So people who are administered with these 4 vaccines are given permission to move freely in the European Union countries. Which are these vaccines? One, Vaxzevria. Second, Comirnaty. Third, Spikevax, and fourth is what is called as Janssen. Only these vaccines are currently being given permission by the European Medical Agency. Does this mean that other people cannot travel to these European countries? No, they can travel to other European countries, but there will be travel restrictions. As of now, travel restrictions which are imposed to people, they also will have to follow the quarantine rules as well and strictly quarantine themselves before they can enter all these countries in the European Union. For the ones who are vaccinated, they would be able to go freely, but for the ones who are not vaccinated, they would still be able to travel, but there are travel restrictions, quarantine rules. If they are able to meet all these quarantine rules, get themselves tested negative, and ultimately they would be able to travel to all the European countries. This is where it can be problematic for countries like India and multiple other developing countries from Africa. Why? That is because currently when you look into India's vaccine policy, we have given permission to Covishield, we have given permission to Covaxin, we have also given permission to Sputnik as well, but these vaccines are yet not approved by the European Medical Agency. So if Indians have to travel to European Union countries, that will be a major problem because none of these vaccines are currently present in this particular list. Added to this, India has also voiced concern that there is a particular vaccine called as AstraZeneca's Vaxzevria. This has been given permission by the European Union. But why is it AstraZeneca's Covishield, where we also have the Serum Institute of India's Covishield, not given permission by the European Union? This is where the European Union agency has gone on to say it is not only about the structure of the vaccine, but it is also about the manufacturing capabilities in the local conditions. Since it is not meeting the standards, the European Medicines Agency has not applied or given permission to Covishield. Added to this, we have also had issues with Covaxin as well. Covaxin is not given permission yet by the World Health Organization. This is where those people who have been vaccinated with Covishield or Covaxin would not be able to enter the doors of European countries. This is where India has also said that this particular action will be reciprocated by stringent actions by India as a registration to protest. So what has India said? Since European countries are not accepting our vaccines, we may also not accept their vaccines, which is where all these people from the European Union countries, if they are planning to enter India, they may also have to go through strict travel restrictions, quarantine rules, says India. Apart from India voicing its concerns, there are multiple countries, in fact African Union, voicing its concern against this particular policy initiative. Why? Because this will put a curb on the free movement of the people, as in fact the COVAX program, which was initiated by the World Health Organization and multiple agencies, they were providing what is called as the Covishield vaccine. But since the Covishield is not being approved by the European Union, this could result in curbing the free movement, says the African Union countries. Therefore, the African Union countries have gone on to say that Covishield, which is currently being given in the low and middle income countries, are not given permission to travel to European Union, which means there is discrimination that is being perpetuated by all the European Union countries. This may further exasperate the racism, divide the global north and south. Ultimately, it could breed racism because of these vaccines, says the African Union countries. What is the stand of the World Health Organization? The World Health Organization has clearly said that such certificate should be made optional and it should not be compulsory, says the World Health Organization. So what is the way forward? As of now, a lot of pressure is being put on the European Union. As of now, there are about 9 countries which have acknowledged the presence of the Covishield. They have given permission to Covishield as well. Some of the countries include Austria, Germany, so on and so forth, where they have agreed to independently make exemptions for Covishield. But going forward, if more pressure is exerted on European Union, it may accept Covishield, and with the approval, if given by the World Health Organization, a similar approval can be given for the Covaxin as well. So exerting more pressure on European Union is the way forward, as the current situation breeds discrimination when it comes to vaccine. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says China goes malaria free with multi-pronged health strategy. The article here is speaking about World Health Organization declaring China as malaria free. What is this malaria? This is a disease caused by the parasite. So a mosquito which is infected, if it goes on to bite another human being, that is when it results in malaria. So the minute this particular mosquito infects a human being, this could result in infected liver cells. It can also infect the red blood cells, and ultimately that particular person will suffer fever, dry cough, headache, as well as nausea. So these are some of the symptoms when it comes to malaria. Now the most important factor is that when it comes to malaria, it is mostly seen in the tropical and the subtropical region. It is not that much present when it comes to the temperate regions. Why? That is because when malaria is found in all these regions where there is excessive temperature, where there is a high rainfall, and at the same time there is relative humidity. Now let's look at statistics as given under this article. According to the World Malaria Report, in the year 2020, there were about 4,09,000 people who lost their lives. Majority of the cases were reported in Africa. India and Southeast Asia, in fact, recorded a significant drop as well. Cases in India fell from approximately 20 million to 6 million according to the 2020 report. Now the article goes on to say that the World Health Organization has put China under the malaria-free status. Previously, such an accomplishment was made by Australia, Singapore, Brunei in the year 1987 amongst the Western Pacific region. How did China achieve this particular progress? Basically, Secondly, they have ensured that all the anti-malarial medicines are given to people on time. So the first criteria or the idea behind reduction of malaria or making it completely malaria free is to provide medicines to the people who are suffering from malaria. Second is to identify the breeding grounds in a particular region and ensure that insecticides are sprayed in this particular region. In the 1980s, China in fact also came up with insecticide nets as well. China further made use of Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria fund. They started establishing the laboratories, research organizations and ultimately provided all the medicines that is required so that this could enable the prevention of this particular malaria. And the most important of all is what is called as the 137 strategy. What is this 137 strategy? This basically has three principles. One is what is called as reporting, second is the investigation, and third is the response. So what is this reporting? The minute there is a particular person who has the symptoms, it has to be immediately reported, that is within 1 day. So the first thing that they have to do, the clinical practitioners will have to identify if it is malaria and immediately report it to the agencies so that they can take suitable actions. The second part is the investigation. So the minute there is a particular person who is infected with malaria and has been confirmed by the health agencies, they have to investigate whether because of the local conditions or it is because of the international or outside the country conditions. So this will be investigated by the agencies, and finally after ensuring that there is reporting and investigation whether it was local or from the international scenario, they basically make sure that this is a response given by the health agency. All the measures that will be provided, medicines will be accommodated to them, and ultimately this will prevent the further transmission of the malaria. These are some of the steps which made China free from malaria, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article says beggars should also work for country, says the Bombay High Court. There was one of the petitions that was filed by Brijesh Arya. What was this petition all about? He says that there are a number of people who are living as homeless. These are the people who are beggars as well. They do not have a homes to stay. They do not have any of the basic amenities. So this person files a petition in the court of law, that is in the Bombay High Court, asking the Bruhat Municipal Corporation to provide nutritious meals to these people, including potable water thrice a day, along with sanitation, shelter, clean public toilets for the homeless persons, beggars and poor people in the city. This public interest litigation was accepted by the Bombay High Court, and it has now gone on to say that there are limits to what a state can do. So as of now, whatever can be done by the government and the municipal corporation is being performed, but there are limits to their operations. In fact, just because there is the state, it cannot always perform all the functions, but instead the citizens will also have to contribute for the welfare of themselves, where it said that beggars should also work for the country and everything cannot be provided by the state. While it does acknowledge that state has certain responsibilities as well, state will have to provide certain basic amenities, and at the same time it has also asked the petitioner to tell the beggars to work for the country, work for the welfare of themselves, work for the welfare of the individuals and the family as well. And at the same time, the municipal corporation has gone ahead and said that it is providing the food with the help of the assistance of the NGO, and it is also providing other basic amenities to the women that is required for their sustenance. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, can reducing cess levies ease high fuel prices? This article here is speaking about why petrol prices are increasing, how it is increasing the inflation, and what needs to be done by the government of India. Currently, when you look at multiple cities and most of the places in India, they are facing a lot of issues. Why? Because the petrol prices are increasing every single day. Why is this? That is because a largest component of this is in the form of taxation, which is enforced by the central government, and at the same time a cess which is enforced by the central government. So the article here is asking the central government to reduce this cess part so that we can ultimately control the inflation. If the petrol prices are not controlled, if there is no reduction, this could be ultimately spilling over to other sectors, especially the transport sector. If the transport sector is hit, multiple other sectors will be hit, and as a result, the inflation will continue to haunt the people. So it is asking the government of India and relevant state governments to also reduce the taxation, and with respect to central government, to reduce the cess in this particular area. But what is this article all about in greater detail will be explained in our economy this week sessions. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. What do you understand by green passport? Is this initiative discriminatory? Critically examine. Second question, the American withdrawal from Afghanistan has turned the balance of power in the battleground in favor of the Taliban. Substantiate. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Peer review. Do give positive feedback to your friends' answers. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.